In the shadowy world of outlaw motorcycle gangs, few names have sparked as much intrigue and notoriety as Brett "Kaos" Pechey. Rising from the streets of Queensland to become one of Australia's most feared biker enforcers, Pechey's journey through the criminal underworld reads like a Hollywood script. From Sergeant-at-Arms of the Bandidos, boasting over 2,200 members across 22 countries, to his dramatic flee to Thailand as Queensland's most wanted man, Pechey's story is one of power, violence, and unexpected twists. His involvement in the infamous 2013 Broadbeach Brawl thrust him into the national spotlight, leading to a 15-month exile and a claimed religious conversion. But Pechey's tale doesn't end there.
With stints in 3 major outlaw motorcycle gangs, including the notorious Rock Machine, and a rap sheet featuring charges from assault to threatening police, Pechey's life is a testament to the volatile nature of the biker world.
Now, as he sits behind bars facing multiple charges, the question remains, is this the final chapter for Kaos, or just another turn in his journey? Brett Kaos, Pechey's journey into the world of outlaw motorcycle gangs began in his home state of Queensland. As a young man barely out of his teens, Pechey was drawn to the allure of motorcycles and the brotherhood promised by the Bandidos motorcycle club. But the Bandidos, with their distinctive red and gold colors, were no ordinary group. They were the second largest motorcycle club in the world, boasting over 2,500 members across 22 countries and 303 chapters worldwide. Only the infamous Hells Angels surpassed them in size and notoriety. Pechey's rise through the ranks of the Bandidos was meteoric.
His tough demeanor, loyalty to his brothers, and willingness to do whatever it took to protect the club caught the attention of the higher-ups.
Before long, Pechey found himself in the role of Sergeant-at-Arms for the West End chapter in Queensland. This position was no small feat. It meant he was the enforcer, the muscle behind the club's operations. As Sergeant-at-Arms, Pechey's reputation grew. He became known for his ruthless brand of justice, earning a reputation as one of the state's most feared men. The nickname Kaos wasn't just for show. It was a reflection of the mayhem that seemed to follow in his wake.
Kaos, as he's known, that's with a K for the love of God, drove his BMW into the garage of the house and then abused his terrified former partner, who was ringing the cops as she ran away from him.
But what drove Pechey to embrace this life of violence and crime? Was it the thrill of power, the sense of belonging, or something deeper rooted in his past? The Bandidos, like many outlaw motorcycle clubs, operated under a strict hierarchy and set of rules. Members were expected to attend mandatory group rides and adhere to a code of silence when it came to law enforcement.
For Pechey, the Bandidos became everything: a new family, a sense of purpose, and a way to channel his anger at the world.
But as his power within the club grew, so did the target on his back. Rival gangs and law enforcement alike began to take notice of the rising star in the Bandidos' ranks. Pechey's time with the Bandidos was marked by a series of violent incidents, each one cementing his reputation as a force to be reckoned with. But it was one event in particular that would thrust him into the national spotlight and set in motion a chain of events that would change his life forever. The stage was set for the infamous Broadbeach Brawl, a confrontation that would make Brett "Kaos" Pechey a household name for all the wrong reasons. The year was 2013, and the Gold Coast was about to become the battleground for one of the most notorious biker brawls in Australian history. On a seemingly ordinary day, the streets of Broadbeach erupted into chaos as members of the Bandidos motorcycle club, led by their fearsome Sergeant-at-Arms, Brett "Kaos" Pechey, clashed violently with their bitter rivals, the Finks. The Broadbeach Brawl, as it came to be known, was no ordinary scuffle. It was a full-scale riot that spilled out onto the streets, terrorizing locals and tourists alike. Pechey was at the heart of the violence, his imposing figure unmistakable amidst the sea of leather-clad bikers.
The confrontation was a stark reminder of the brutal reality of biker gang warfare. and it sent shockwaves through the nation.
WA is a particularly good place to live if you're a criminal from the eastern states, because you can be confident that if you bash innocent people, the West Australian judiciary won't be too hard on you. Career thug Brett Pechey has proved this again by walking free from court despite monstering his former partner at their one-time family home.
In the aftermath of the brawl, as police scrambled to round up those involved, Pechey found himself in an unenviable position. He was now Queensland's most wanted man, with law enforcement agencies across the state hot on his heels. For a man who had built his reputation on standing his ground, Pechey made a decision that surprised many. He ran. Thailand became Pechey's refuge for the next 15 months. But what happened during his time in self-imposed exile? Reports suggest that Pechey underwent a dramatic transformation.
When he finally returned to Australian soil in 2015, he was a changed man, at least on the surface.
Gone were the Bandidos colors that had once defined him. In their place, Pechey sported new tattoos, B4L prominently displayed on his legs. These letters stood for Brothers for Life, a Middle Eastern gang with a fearsome reputation of its own. But the changes weren't just skin deep. Pechey claimed to have converted to Islam, speaking of a new life dedicated to peace, loyalty, respect, and honesty. This apparent transformation raised eyebrows and questions in equal measure. Was this a genuine change of heart, a spiritual awakening brought on by his time as a fugitive? Or was it a calculated move, a way to distance himself from his Bandidos past and the legal troubles that came with it? Despite his claims of turning over a new leaf, law enforcement remained skeptical.
In 2017, Pechey was spotted in Western Australia, where police believed he was recruiting members for a new Perth chapter of Brothers for Life.
It seemed that despite his protestations of peace, the lure of the outlaw lifestyle was still strong for Brett "Kaos" Pechey. Just when it seemed Brett "Kaos" Pechey's story couldn't get any more surprising, 2023 brought a new twist. After his stint with the Bandidos and his alleged conversion with Brothers for Life, Pechey resurfaced with yet another notorious outlaw motorcycle gang, the Rock Machine. The Rock Machine was no ordinary club, the Rock.
And with a history steeped in violence, they had gained international notoriety in the 1990s, during a bloody war with the Hells Angels in Canada.
This conflict, which lasted 7 years, saw dozens killed in shootings and bombings, cementing the Rock Machine's reputation as one of the most feared outlaw motorcycle gangs in the world. Pechey, ever the chameleon, didn't just join the Rock Machine. He quickly rose to the position of Sergeant-at-Arms, a role he was all too familiar with from his Bandidos days. It was as if he had come full circle, once again assuming the mantle of the enforcer, the man to be feared and respected in equal measure. Never one to shy away from the limelight, Pechey took to social media to flaunt his new affiliation. He posted images of himself defiantly pointing a pistol at the camera, a not-so-subtle message to his enemies and the law enforcement agencies that had been tracking his movements for years. The message was clear. Brett "Kaos" Pechey was back, and he was as dangerous as ever.
But Pechey's bravado was short-lived. Just weeks after his high-profile announcement of joining the Rock Machine, a video surfaced that would shake his fearsome reputation to its core.
The footage showed Pechey, the once feared enforcer, sprinting away from a confrontation with members of the rival Mongols Motorcycle Club at a shopping center in Perth. The incident was a far cry from the tough guy image Pechey had cultivated over the years. For a man who had built his reputation on standing his ground and facing down any threat, the sight of him fleeing from a confrontation was shocking. It was a moment of vulnerability that his enemies were quick to exploit, and one that would have severe consequences for his standing in the outlaw biker world. The Rock Machine, a club that prided itself on its toughness and its willingness to go to war with rival gangs, was quick to distance itself from Pechey. In a move that spoke volumes about the unforgiving nature of the outlaw motorcycle world, they promptly booted Pechey out of the club. Just like that, the man who had once been at the top of the biker hierarchy found himself cast out, a pariah in the very world he had once ruled. This latest setback left Pechey in an unprecedented position. He was now a man without a club, a biker without a home in the cutthroat world of outlaw motorcycle gangs. The question on everyone's lips was, what would Brett Kaos Pechey do next? As Brett Kaos Pechey's reputation in the outlaw biker world crumbled, his legal troubles were only beginning to mount. The law, which had been on his tail for years, was finally closing in, and the consequences of Pechey's tumultuous life were about to catch up with him. In 2020, Pechey's luck ran out. He found himself behind bars, sentenced to 12 months in jail after a harrowing 2-day, drug-fueled episode that saw him threatening to kill police officers. It was a stark fall from grace for the man who had once instilled fear in the hearts of his enemies and commanded respect from his biker brothers. The incident that led to his imprisonment was a chilling reminder of the volatile nature of Pechey's character. In a series of videos, he was seen pretending to cock a rifle while saying,
"I'm not here to hurt anyone. If I was, you wouldn't know about it. I could just turn up, click, click, boom."
In another video, he was recorded in his car with a firearm on the passenger seat, uttering the ominous words,
"Die today, coppers die today. Yeah, boy, ing maggots."
But Pechey's legal woes were far from over. In June 2022, shortly after his release from prison, he found himself in trouble with the law once again. This time, the charges were even more serious: trespass, common assault, criminal damage, and threatening to unlawfully do an act. The incident that led to these charges was particularly disturbing. Pechey had driven his BMW into the garage door of the home where his ex-partner and children were living. In court, Pechey's lawyer painted a picture of a man struggling with mental health issues.
The defense argued that Pechey's ex-girlfriend was making it difficult for him to retrieve items from the home, including his schizophrenia medication, which had contributed to his aggressive state.
While this argument may have garnered some sympathy, it also raised questions about Pechey's stability and the potential danger he posed to those around him. The court ordered Pechey to complete a 10-month intensive supervision order, with requirements to address his mental health and anger issues. But was this enough to keep the notorious biker in check? Early 2024 brought yet another twist in Pechey's legal saga. He was charged with 3 counts of breaching a family violence restraining order, reckless driving, driving without authority, and failing to stop in circumstances of aggravation.
These charges stemmed from an alleged high-speed police chase in Mirabuka, suggesting that despite the court-ordered interventions, Pechey was still struggling to stay on the right side of the law.
While in custody for these latest charges, Pechey pleaded guilty to driving under the influence of methamphetamine. The court fined him $250 and disqualified him from driving for 6 months, a penalty that would only take effect upon his release from jail. As the legal net tightened around Brett Kaos Pechey, one question loomed large. Was this the end of the road for the notorious biker, or just another chapter in his tumultuous journey? As Brett Kaos Pechey sits in custody, awaiting trial on multiple charges, the future of this once feared biker enforcer hangs in the balance. His story, which has captivated Australia for years, is far from over, but the final chapters remain unwritten. Despite his current predicament, Pechey remains defiant. His social media presence, though limited by his incarceration, continues to make waves. In response to a shooting at a home owned by his partner, Pechey took to social media to declare, "Shooting up houses that women and kids live in is not a victory." It was a statement that seemed at odds with his violent past, perhaps hinting at a change in perspective. Pechey's journey through the world of outlaw motorcycle gangs has been nothing short of extraordinary.
From the Bandidos to Brothers for Life, and finally to the Rock Machine, he has worn the colors of some of the most notorious gangs in Australia.
Each transition brought with it a new identity, a new set of allegiances, and new enemies. But who is the real Kaos Pechey? Is he the fearsome enforcer who rose through the ranks of the Bandidos? The convert to Islam who claimed to seek a life of peace and loyalty with brothers for life? Or is he the fallen biker, cast out of the rock machine, and now facing the full force of the law? The complexity of Pechey's character is evident in the contradictions that define his life. He claims to earn some $200 a week as a concreter, a far cry from the high-stakes world of outlaw biker gangs. Yet his criminal record and ongoing legal troubles paint a picture of a man unable to leave his turbulent past behind. Pechey's story raises important questions about the nature of redemption and the possibility of change. Can a man with such a violent past truly turn over a new leaf? Or is the pull of the outlaw lifestyle too strong to resist? The answers to these questions may lie in Pechey's future actions, should he ever regain his freedom. For now, Kaos Pechey remains a figure of fascination and controversy.
His story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of the outlaw biker lifestyle, while also highlighting the complex issues of mental health, addiction, and the challenges of reintegration faced by those trying to leave the world of organized crime.
As Australia watches and waits to see what the next chapter holds for Kaos Pechey, one thing is certain: his story is far from over. Whether he will emerge from his legal troubles as a changed man, or whether the chaos that has defined his life will continue to reign, remains to be seen. But whatever the outcome, the saga of Kaos Pechey will undoubtedly continue to captivate and intrigue for years to come.